So there is one point which and most of the other point I dwell in little more depth as we go forward. But one thing that I do want to talk about is that even with a 73% promoter holding, 38% of that is held in a irrevocable public trust in a format that the beneficial ownership of those returns on those shares is for the public good. So really that's the thinking and that's the starting point. And everything else that I'll talk about will follow some of those thinking. The next thing is the really tone at the top, and I think this differentiates a great company from a good company, which is how do you define what are your value systems? Many of you may not know, but the only time Wipro went to public markets to raise funds for its growth was in 1946, which was 1 year before India became independent. And ever since, we have not gone to the markets to raise funds for growth. We have generated our cash, and we have used it for our growth. Not that, and you won't find many companies who have done that. Probably, I mean, we have not been able to find any, but assuming there are very few such companies globally. That is not because we are in a great business. IT business is a great business, but that is last 15 years. I think it is because there are values at core of Wipro, which has not made any compromise over the period of 70 years. We have lived through license Raj. We have lived through acute shortage of raw material Raj. We have lived through Union Raj. We have lived through many other things. But a few things have remained very constant that, certain things Wipro will not do. And we have not done. And therefore, we are where we are. So, the limited point I want to make here is your today's success maybe is determined by your business model, the opportunity at hand, and how great you are as a manager. But your long-term success would be determined by some of the very fundamental success or sort of foundation stones that an organization needs to put in place. And in my view, governance is such one foundation stone. Now, having set the tone at the top, we are about 180,000 employees. We recruit on an average about 10,000 freshers from campus, another 10,000 laterals we recruit. So we get 20 to 25,000 employees new in the company every year. Now, with all that, how do you make sure that people feel as passionately about this as the chairman of the board or head of audit committee or me or a few of my direct reports? How do you touch that individual who has come from a very different walk of life, a small village or a small town in Karnataka or Madhya Pradesh, where some of these things have never been talked about? It is okay to bunk the class and give proxy for attendance. It is okay to pay 500 rupees to somebody to get electricity connection. So it is very easy for me to put this chart up, but it's very difficult for me to make it is understood and done. And how do we do it? I mean, we do host of things, but effectively we do 6 things which I have articulated below, which is articulated policies, employee, continuous reaffirmment. People take governance test every year. What can be done, what can't be done. It's a very nice 24 questions which will puzzle an employee as to what he should do in this typical situation, and it will reinforce what in this circumstances somebody should be responding to. And this is must. An employee cannot operate if he doesn't take this test by a particular date. His access to system, everything gets stopped. So some of this reinforcement and action on default, very clear sort of public hall of fame and public hall of shame that we follow. very articulated, and that keeps people honest, aware that what they should do. Other thing that Wipro has tried to do is that we have tried to remain at the forefront. Sometimes in that process becoming sort of the first experiments or the challenges that a new idea goes through when you try and inculcate. But that has paid us rich dividends. We were among the first Indian companies to set up audit committee way back in 1986. This it's not been listed here, but we were the first company in 1991 when we started publishing segmental and consolidated results, and it came as a accounting standard in 2003, which was about 12 years after we started publishing it. So some of these things we looked at globally. We were fortunate to be working with large companies globally like GE, Cisco, some of the other great names, Citibank. And then you went ahead and you benchmark, and you said that they were doing something. They were doing X, Y, Z, and can we incorporate that? First Indian internal audit to win this international quality award. We did a merger in 1995, which was hailed as the most investor friendly merger in that year. We won Alexander Hamilton Award for Investor Relations for that. Since 2012, we have been named as the most ethical company globally by Ethisphere Institute, and we continue to excel in whatever we do. We benchmark. Sometimes it's always difficult to implement some of these things, but we went ahead. In fact, this year we have also published our financial statements for 15-16 as an integrated reporting, which the earlier speaker was referring in context of Tata Capital. So we looked at Tata Steel, and we looked at that, and we thought it's something that we must emulate, and we went ahead. We are unabashedly good at copying good things. So, and we give due credit to the person who has started, but we don't want to be left behind. This practices on board of directors, etc., is well known. So I will not talk about it, but I will leave one thing with you. You look at the stature of your independent directors. I think as much effort you deploy to get great leadership for your organization, I think even greater emphasis you must put on getting the best names on independent directors, because having interacted myself for over a period of 5 years, the immense value they can get to the organization, cannot be. I mean, it cannot be replaced by anything else. That source of wisdom, you may put the best management team, leadership team, but that source of wisdom cannot come from anywhere else. So I would highly encourage, look at your independent directors. Don't look at from a compliance standpoint. Go all out. And some of these folks are in high demand. I mean, you would love to have some of them on your board, but they have their time constraints and other things. But go all out, because in our experience, I think that one big difference that we see in the way we conduct ourselves is a lot of wisdom of some of these senior leaders who bring through independent directors on our board. Now, therefore, as good as you try to be yourself, there is only so many things you can pick up from your interaction with others. And therefore, I think it's a wonderful idea to have a governance scorecard, because it gets you to that best practices mapping automatically. Today, or forever, I would say for last 30 years, we have been trying to do that on and off. We talk to somebody, we like the idea, we hear somebody is doing this and we implement it. But it is, I think it brings that a sense of ready product to you where it tells you whether you are doing a few things right or you are not doing a few things right. And it will also tell you somebody is doing it right or not, because a lot of times when we try and implement, a lot of internal obstacles are that, why we want to do it and who would want to do it, and why we should put our energy and resources behind it. And it is wonderful to see that, if you have a benchmark, then that benchmark you can excel at, and you can also see somebody else excelling it. And in fact, then there is a spirit of being left behind, which will come in. Today, we feel we are doing great because we are at forefront. But one doesn't know how much of forefront you are at, and somebody could be ahead of you, and some aspects you may not have considered. And I have listed down a few things which I think is very well articulated. How much does company provide any information about independence, competence and experience of external direct auditor? For us, appointment of external auditor is a very Companies Act sort of requirement. You also know that there are 3 or 4 firms and beyond which you will not go down. And you therefore assume that in some form shareholders are okay if you put one of the 4 names. Of course, you go through a great diligence yourself, but do you do enough to give that comfort to shareholders that, by the way, I have selected the best auditor for you? Is CEO compensation commensurate with company size and performance? And by and large in India, at least I have seen compared to US, is the C-suite leadership compensations are far moderately pegged than what I have seen in US or UK. But I think this is little ahead of time that you start talking about it, so that if something is going out of hand, it will come out in this. It will also talk about if there are sharp changes versus last year, if company's performance has been good and therefore increase is well deserved, well calibrated. But if not, then whether you should make some of this. And I don't know how many of you are following this Wells Fargo issue and that congressional testimony. I mean, there was such a direct question to the CEO of the company saying, have you done anything to let go your compensation? And I could not see at least any reaction from him which said that, yeah, I am voluntarily letting it go. And that was a slap on the face. Not him, but the overall governance of Wells Fargo, that there is an issue which is very large and for which the CEO is giving a testimony to the Congress, and board has not even forced that simple measure that they could have done before the CEO went for the testimony. So CEO compensation will become an issue. It is not such an issue today, in my view, in India, but eventually it would. Are the disclosures on succession planning well disclosed and well detailed? I think it is important because I know of a large organization that has a family led chairman and fairly distinguished set of independent directors. But the succession planning is not very well detailed. And the moment they were listed on a global exchange, that was a requirement. And then the board started very actively thinking about it, which I know they were not doing therefore before, because nobody applied themselves that whether we should have it or not have it. And it became a good, I think, stepping stone. That requirement became a good stepping stone to bring that discussion in the board and tackle it in a best possible manner. So I think some of these things are not, I mean, today there is no real regulation in India. The Companies Act doesn't require listing document or listing regulation with SEBI or stock exchange doesn't require succession planning in any manner. But here, at least in corporate governance scorecard, I could see that as a requirement, and that will raise questions in a very nice manner. And therefore, we have experimented with it. We played around with this to be when they first shared with us, and we are very happy with the outcome. We know our shortcomings well. and we will bridge on that and we'll build on that as we move forward. It was also reassuring because a lot of it we were doing is well. You always thought this is good, but if somebody came and said, no, that is only 3 out of 5, then you would have felt very bad. At least many of this we found we got 5 out of 5 or good marks. So we knew it's assuring. And I think that's also good to have as a leader, that you may tom-tom a lot about yourself, but if there is an independent questioner which tells you that the practice is good, that's a more reassuring thought to take back to the board. And I have always sort of told Ashish and some of the other distinguished leadership of BSC that we must bring the listed companies together to learn from each other. As I am on the listed company advisory group of NYSE, and that's the only advisory group which NYSE follows. There are not 15 advisory groups. We meet once in 6 months, and some of these things we do in a very informal manner. And the best names, best companies in US are listed from, all large companies are listed in NYSE, but in that group, some of the best names are there. And it's such an enriching experience. And I think this corporate governance scorecard is a step in right direction in effectively doing the same thing, which is encouraging companies to learn from each other. And therefore, I'll congratulate BSC on anchoring this, and hopefully it will become a success. So all the very best, and we are very happy to be the first company which tried it out. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for putting Wipro in a nutshell for all of us. And now, Shri Girish Joshi, Senior General Manager BSC, will present a memento to Shri Jatin Dalal, CFO Wipro. Please accept this as a token of felicitation. Time now, ladies and gentlemen, for a demonstration of the much talked about corporate governance scorecard by Madam Khyati Shah, Deputy General Manager, Listing Department, BSC.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to all of you for coming here today and participating in this event for Corporate Governance Scorecard. I'm sure all the previous speakers have created enough curiosity amongst all of you to know what this scorecard is all about. All of you want to figure out where you stand in this scoring model. So we are going to provide you a link in your listing portal itself where you will be able to access this tool and you will be able to do a self-evaluation for yourself by answering all the 70 questions that have been spoken about. So just for the sake of repetition, Hetal has already told you, but there are 70 questions in this tool divided in 4 categories. So there is rights and equitable treatment of shareholders, role of stakeholders, disclosure and transparency, and responsibility of the board. So these are the 4 categories in which the 70 questions have been divided. And the tool will take you through it. The tool also has a guidance for each question. There is a key which tells you what is expected or what is intended behind each question, and what is the kind of verification or what is the kind of proof that you could have to justify each answer which you give to these questions. And as Mr. Dalal rightly said just a few minutes ago, the tool is not just about compliance. It's not just about figuring out whether you are meeting all the requirements in terms of a Companies Act or an LODR. It is more about what more you can do beyond this and achieve global standards of corporate governance. So let me just give you a quick preview of what the tool will look like. So, is it visible? I'll increase the size. Is it visible to the people at the back? Yeah? Or just... So, this is what your questionnaire will look like. Has the company taken steps to ensure that the basic rights of shareholders are clear and unequivocal? So, this is the first question in the first category. There is a response key here, which is explaining what is expected in terms of a response or what has to be filled in. Here are your answers. So you could select A, B, or C depending on what is correct for the company. So I will do a couple of questions just to show you how this moves. Having saved the first answer, we move to the second one. I need to scroll because I have enlarged the screen for your convenience. So there are some questions which may have a 0-2 option, in which case you will see that B will have no option to fill in anything. Otherwise, all the questions are typically 0, 1, 2, which is A, B, C. So I've just filled in some sample questions for you, and there is a link called Scorecard Status, which will tell you if you finished filling in all the questions or if you missed out anything. You can see it here. So we've just pre-filled some of these. And to finish scoring, just show you one more sample. There are some questions which have the option of saying not applicable. For a very few examples, so here's one. If the company has a stock option scheme, is the exercise price of the stock option fixed at a discount to market price? Now, there could be companies which do not have a stock option scheme and they may want to opt for NA. But if I say NA, I need to explain why. That is how it will move in the comment box, right? So again, just pre-filling a few so that we reach the scorecard, the final result page. Okay, so I am done with 70. I can just go to the status and check one more time. And I'm done with 70. So So leadership is the score which this demo company has got. So this is basically what your scorecard will look like. Here are the 4 categories, the marks received for each category, the maximum possible marks because that depends on the number of questions under each category, and the weightages assigned for all of them. Now just to give you a basic understanding of the scoring output, what happens is 0 to 50 is considered basic. So you need to be at least 50 to be even complying with basic requirements of regulations. 50 to 60, the grade will be fair. 60 to 70 will show good, and anything more than 70 is considered leadership. So this is what the scoring tool is going to be all about. Going forward, we will also add some more facilities where we will have an ability to even have a third party verify your scores. So this is the first phase, and it will soon be available on your listing portal. So your own listing user ID and password can be used to access this tool. Use it for evaluation, use it to understand where you stand, what is it that you can do better. And then the next phase comes when you can actually have a third party verify it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Khyati, for explaining the tool and making it so simple for the august audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Hermes, as most of you might be aware, is a global private equity investor. Though none of their representatives could attend this function today, but they have been kind enough to share a video to make up for their noteworthy presence. This film will narrate how corporate governance is important for decision-making of the investors. Please take a look at the screens. AV, please.
Good morning. I am Dr. Christine Chow, an Associate Director in the Engagement Team of Hermes Investment Management. Since the 1990s, we have been engaging with companies to improve corporate governance for creating long-term shareholder value. It was a novel idea at the time, because nobody ever thought of the idea that governance has anything to do with a company's financial performance. What was understood, though, was the importance of the quality of management, which the famous long-term investor Warren Buffett often talked about. But there is something more than that. As we have seen with the recent mis-selling scandal at Wells Fargo, and many other instances before that, from Volkswagen to Enron back in the days, governance is vitally important for the growth and existence of a company. But what is corporate governance? It is about putting the necessary but not excessive checks and balances in place to make sure that when circumstances arise, those in power act according to the mission and values of a company. Our proprietary research, as well as independent academic research, showed that better governance leads to better stock performance. In our own research, we found that well-governed companies outperform poorly governed companies by an average of over 30 basis points per month over a 5-year period. Therefore, we have always been keen to invest in companies with good governance or companies that are willing to improve their governance because we believe they will ultimately perform better. In India, the concept of good governance will need to respect cultural reality. But nonetheless, the principles are the same. For example, we believe that good corporate governance is no different from good family governance. A clear succession plan minimizes unnecessary conflict. Good independent directors are trusted mentors who can bring relevant parallel experiences to management and the family. A strong, diverse board will have people with different styles, similar to a group of family members that will have different characteristics. They might argue, but they still want to work together to make things work for the company. This is why the IFC Corporate Governance Scorecard is important, because it is constructed bottom-up with a deep understanding of local practices and corporate characteristics. But it also makes references to global best practices. We believe the scorecard will bring out the uniqueness of different companies and give us additional insights into ways in which they can grow and improve. Finally, I would like to say thank you for listening to my sharing. We look forward to the new and exciting tool that is now available to us to better analyze and to engage with companies. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time we throw light on how the CG Scorecard tool can pave a way for a structured journey of listed companies. So let's begin this segment on implementation roadmap for a company by calling upon our three speakers, Shri Neeraj Kulshrestha, Chief Business Operations, BSE. Mr. Kulshrestha joined BSE as Chief Operations Officer. He's a member of the Executive Management Committee of BSE and is on the board of Indian Clearing Corporation Limited, the ICCL, and Asia Index Private Limited. He has about 27 years of experience in capital markets. Prior to BSE, he was an executive director in Morgan Stanley, India for 10 long years. Before that, he was with the National Stock Exchange, was also the CEO of India Index Services Limited and .X International Limited. He has completed his bachelor's in computer science from Delhi University and an MBA in finance from Indore University. Shri Kulshrestha, please take your seat on the dais while I call Madam Vladislava Rebota, Regional Corporate Governance Lead, South Asia IFC. Madam Rebota, since joining the Mumbai office of IFC and is a key member of IFC's corporate governance leadership team and the center point of contact for both investment and advisory services for IFC in South Asia. When she joined IFC, she worked in a number of corporate governance and advisory projects. Madam Rebota specializes in assessment of corporate governance practices, board evaluation, family business governance, governance of funds and SMEs. She graduated from the law faculty of KNU in Ukraine, continued her education at Essex University, UK, holds a PhD degree and is a mediator accredited by the Center for Effective Dispute Resolution in the UK. She's a professional trainer and author of a number of books and articles on corporate governance, commercial law, and mediation. Ma'am, please. Next, we have Shri Pradeep Kaur. His association with the securities market in India has been close to 3 decades. Joined the Securities and Exchange Board of India at its inception. He was its executive director for 14 years till he left SEBI. After that, he joined the Tata Management Training Center in Pune as the Dean of Finance and Governance. Later, he was consultant to the Global Corporate Governance Forum, which was a part of the corporate governance group of the International Finance Corporation. Currently, he is a consultant to the International Finance Corporation and the World Bank, independent director of the Tata AIA Life Insurance Company and the Tata Trustee Company Limited, and senior advisor Enterprise Risk Services, Deloitte India. Shri Kaur is a member of CII's National Council on Corporate Governance and the CII National Committee on Regulatory Affairs. Previously, he was a member of Reserve Bank of India's Expert Committee to review governance of boards of banks in India. He has been published widely and holds an MBA from INSEAD and a master's degree in solid state physics from the University College of Science and Technology, Kolkata University. Shri Kaur. Welcome, everybody. While I leave the stage to your remarks and deliberations.
Good morning, all of you. to ask a retired player, not played cricket for a long time, to open the innings is a very, actually putting somebody on the spot. So that's first thing, that's first observation. I was not planning to speak because I thought since morning we heard a lot about CG scorecard, and there will be others also, more experts than me, to talk about what the scorecard is all about. After that, Slava very kindly put me on the spot, and she was very transparent in saying that I'm putting you on the spot, saying that you open it. Okay, that being so, really I don't have much to say because all has been said, but the only thing is, this scorecard is an important tool, and I would believe from my experience since I started the CG on clause 49 in SEBI, I think it's important for companies themselves to see where they stand. I was very happy to find out from Hital that when he applied the scorecard to 20 companies, a large number of companies had good score, which means things have improved a lot. But that may not be said for all the other companies too. If you run the scorecard for the 100 companies, I think it's important for the companies to understand where they stand in terms of governance. And as Mr. Damodaran said in the morning, and that's what I believe always, governance is only a necessary tool. It's not a sustainable for your corporate performance. It will not necessarily yield you a very high profitability or gross. For that, business strategy is important. But however, you cannot sustain your business unless you have good governance. So therefore, governance standard is important, and therefore it's important for all of you, all your companies, the companies which all of you represent, to try and see where you stand. You hold a mirror to yourself. And as I said elsewhere, it's a health check. You either want to test whether you have cholesterol high or sugar level high or pressure high. That's up to you. If you don't want to do it, and that's up to you. So if you want to die early, that's up to you also. So all these things are up to you. To what extent you do the morning walks, to what extent you do the exercises, nobody can dictate to you, but your health is your health. Similarly, your company is your company, and company's health is your company's health. So therefore, it's all the more important that more and more companies follow this process and does things voluntarily. And maybe if you have the guts to do it, and you have a good score, maybe you can put it out to the public, and that will yield you a lot more result than normal, your PR initiatives which the companies take. If you can put out a good score and you can show display to the world, demonstrate to the world that the score is consistently very high, people will really buy your shares. That's important. So therefore, for the public perception-wise, it's important. For your own health check, you can keep it secret, but at least you know how you look in the mirror. That's important. And often, a mirror look is not important. You may dye your hair, you may do Botox, a lot of things, but if you do a health check, actually measure the sugar level or the cholesterol level and the heart level, and heart rate, that's your real check. That will tell you how good your health is functioning. So therefore, I would advocate that more and more companies get into the habit of doing this scorecard themselves. As Setal has showed, it's a voluntary thing. You can self-evaluation is possible, so you should do that. That's all. I now leave it to expert on the right and on the left. On the right? Right and left. My right and left is confusing always. So I must use the Tenson's language in the charge of light brigade. Right and left, okay? Over to you.
Thank you, sir. So I think that was very kind of you to be so humble about this, because at the end, the inception of this whole idea can certainly be attributed to Mr. Kaur, because it was based on his discussions that this has happened. So I think I think since a lot has already been said, I'm not really going to talk a lot on what this product is all about, etc., etc. I'll just, from a BSc perspective, we strongly believe that this is an important phase in the development of the corporate sector for India, which requires companies to start adhering to this and to start working on good corporate governance practices as in the ecosystem. I mean, finally, corporate governance is the foundation on which a lot will depend. So when we identified what could be the benefits with respect to corporate CGS scorecard, of all the stakeholders, there are 4 key stakeholders. Of course, the companies, the investors, the creditors, and of course, finally, the regulators. From the company's point of view, it provides them an opportunity to do a self-assessment. It also provides them an ability to understand what they need to do with respect to getting leadership, with respect to the shareholders as well as and the corporate governance standards. The independent validation process will certainly provide much better acceptance of the corporate governance course by everyone in the all the stakeholders and especially the investors. So, from a company's point of view, it is important. A lot of companies have been doing a lot of things, but it does not really come out. And as was discussed earlier by Mr. Jatin Dalal, I think so much, whatever I learned about Wipro here, probably I would not have known earlier. A lot of it I would not have known in terms of, we relate a lot of things with Wipro, we relate a lot of things with various companies, but once spoken and once some additional thrust is given to these aspects, I think it works very well. From an investor's point of view, it certainly helps identify quality companies. At the end, as Mr. Dalal had also mentioned earlier, alluded earlier about how in the future equity stakes will be important and the returns from the equity stakes will be important, and therefore it's all the more necessary that corporate governance is given the due importance that it requires. And of course, investors can use and this is just one piece from all the other aspects with respect to analyzing a company, but it does provide a very good information. With respect to creditors, it certainly enhances the quality of their assessment because it helps them understand what is the kind of management and what are the practices with respect to that. And finally, it also helps create some early warning from their perspective. Coming to regulators, that's the easy one because corporate governance has been, while it was always all along a tick box kind of a mechanism which was being followed, it's heartening to note that the markets have evolved and certain companies have actually created benchmarks which eventually have become regulations and which are being practiced with a lot of passion by the companies. So from our perspective, this is another step as exchanges and as regulators or quasi-regulators. It's another step in enhancing the image of the Indian markets, and it helps us grow to the next level. I think I'll close with that and I'll pass it on to Slava. Slava, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Niraj. And thank you very much, Mr. Pratipkar, for a very nice analogy which you brought, the health check. I really like it because, and that's something which companies, I think, have to keep in mind. This is a health check. You really need to understand where you stand in terms of corporate governance. And when we started our journey back in January 2016, I was not sure how it will come out. As you might know, IFC has supported Scorecard around the world, but this India to date is our biggest market and the most challenging one. And I'm really happy to see how this all came out very nicely. And I really want to thank to brilliant BEC and IIS teams, hard-working teams who put a lot of effort in making this scorecard. And of course to Anne, who will be on the panel shortly. Thank you very much to all of you. The product is amazing, and we are of course refining this product more and more. It will have more features later on, but generally I'm really pleased on how this came out. Just to remind you about our journey, so we started and we are following the process which we followed in all other countries. So the first, the initiative gets launched, and then there is a public consultation, and we had this event in June. The event aimed at asking for comments from corporates, and again refining the procedure, refining the scorecard. Now is pilot results, and we are expecting to launch the scorecard officially in December. We will keep you posted on the date. So that's the journey, how it looks like. And what's next after the launch, after December? From December, it will be some period of time for companies to get used to the scorecard, and it will be a self-testing mode. Basically, the teams BEC, IFC, and IIS will conduct a series of trainings to support companies to explain how to use the scorecard. At the same time, I have to say the scorecard is really simple to use. All the boxes are self-explanatory. It's just when you read the score and when you read the text in the boxes, please read every single word, because every single word has a meaning. Don't jump immediately in, no, okay, no problem, we score 2. It might not be the case if you read carefully. But we promise the market to support with different materials. We will be developing some brochures, and BEC has put a nice brochure already, which is in your packages. We will be doing more on that, explanations. Information will be at BEC and IIS sites. Then we will conduct trainings and individuals on the scorecard, those who wish to know more on how to use it and what's the logic behind the requirements, or what are the possible practices. Ms. Hettel just demonstrated us some of the examples of good practices. So if you need more examples, please reach out to us, and we will show you how some issues can be addressed so that you can score 2 and move on. Of course, we will be promoting the scorecard to companies and investors, and we have started doing this. We have just reached out to our folks, investors who invest in India. We sent them the scorecard, and you have seen Hermes. These are one of the investors we are friendly with, we are friends with. And so they scored their portfolio in India already. We also work with Kartika Capital, who is also investing in listed companies with good governance in India. And we are reaching out to so-called DFI community, signatories of IFC Corporate Governance Developmental Framework. These are 35 developmental finance institutions. Some of them invest in India, and we will be sending the scorecard to them, and we will be promoting this for them to use. So expect some of the contacts, I think. And again, we will be supporting the companies. If you need any help, if you need any clarification, I think our contact details will be on the sites, and you can always reach out to us and see what you can do. And then it will be a launch of the phase 2. Phase 2 basically is a verification stage or validation stage. We expect that by that time, all companies will more or less understand where they stand. And in case this is absolutely voluntary phase, So if a company wants to publish the score or share the score in the annual report or advertise the score, basically, it can do it after this was verified or validated. What you can do meanwhile in between the phase 1 and phase 2, and even before the launch, actually. You can attend a training, of course, and this is not only a training for company secretaries. This is a training for if you have a corporate governance officer, or for CEOs, CFOs, and board members. Everyone would be welcome to understand, because the scorecard is really. I would say it's not the company secretary level. The scorecard should be promoted by the board, and we expect it to be promoted and monitored by the board, and also by the management. Of course, the hard work is actually falling on company secretaries' shoulders, but still we expect it to be promoted by at the highest level of the corporation. You can do self-score, and then you can do a roadmap. And I've done it for one of the companies already. It's really easy thing to do, and it's really easy to score higher once you have the basic, the first draft score, and you can implement the changes. This is not readable, unfortunately, but this is how the improvement plan can look like. All you have to do is to select those issues where a company did not score 2. And a scorecard has an explanation on what should be demonstrated by the company or done by the company in order to score 2. So the company can look at the requirements and create its own plan. For example, here, we are talking about shareholders' rights, and I think we are talking about education of shareholders about shareholders' rights. And there are several options how you can reach that. You can either include shareholders, clear shareholders' rights into the charter or articles of association and publish it on the website. Again, AOA is not a confidential document. Most of the jurisdictions don't consider it to be a confidential document, so you can simply put it on the website. There's nothing to hide there, really. If you still feel reluctant, you can also do a one-pager with shareholders' rights and put it on the website, just explaining your shareholders what are the rights. Or while sending the notice on AGM, you can attach this one-pager. So there are many different approaches on how you actually can address the issue in order to score 2. But this should be decided by the company, discussed ideally at the board level or management level on what we can do. And based on the scorecard, it's really easy to create a work plan. Like the company which I'm working with right now has 40 points. So it has a potential. It scored 62, I think. And it has a potential to score, and they can just pick the items which are so-called low-hanging fruits. They can fix something immediately in the next annual report cycle. Some of the issues, yes, they will take time, but the main point here is really to plan it carefully and then just follow the plan. Some of the messages which I wanted to communicate. One is your low score, in case you score low, doesn't mean that the company secretary is doing bad job. Not at all. Why? Because the company secretary's job is compliance. And that's how company secretaries get certified by the Institute of Corporate Secretaries. They get educated this way. And this is their primary job. Scorecard is really about going beyond the compliance. And some of the concepts, some of the requirements which are in the scorecard are best practices. And they were not known by the market before the scorecard appeared. So it's okay that the market doesn't know about these things. It's okay that company secretaries don't know about these things. So they can easily again fix it. So that's the message I want to convey. Another message is this is really easy to reach the high score. The scorecard is about transparency, about opening up for more information. And there are plenty of different examples on the market. Go to specialists and they help you. And the third message is when you do the self-scoring first time. Is this raining? It's supposed to finish. So when you do the first scoring, be frank with yourself in order to avoid disappointments when the score is verified by independent verificator. Be frank with you. If you don't have something, that's okay, because the self-scoring is confidential. This is a health check which only you will see. This means I should finish? Again, we have noticed, because we try to verify some of the self-scores with companies, and usually some companies get so excited because they want to score 100, which is, I think, something inside us. We really want to score 100 immediately. That's a long journey. So some companies overscore themselves, and then when we verify, it's minus 20 points. So when it's minus 20 points, you really get disappointed, and it makes you sad, right? So that's why it's better to just be frank with yourself, score yourself, quietly and confidentially, create the work plan, and then move on. And again, the phase 2, this is absolutely voluntary, optional phase. So basically, the company will do the self-score. Then it will appoint a validator who should be a professional corporate governance organization with good reputation. Because at the end of the day, when you publish the score, you will also publish a name of the validator. And the beauty of the scorecard is that you can be scored without you knowing, because the scorecard is based on publicly available information. That's why it's very important to put a fair score, because if you publish the score, it's validated, and then any of the investors goes and checks and finds the discrepancy, trust will be shaken. I will put it nice way. So it's the validator's name which is on stake as well here. And that's the validator's reputation. We expect that the market will filter the validators. There will be many at the beginning, as it usually happens in all markets. And then it comes down to some, trusted, high-quality validators. So then you would need to provide the evidence. And actually, again, the scorecard is built in that way, that once you answer the question, you need to put a link there. And the link goes to your website. So if I am an independent, if I'm an investor and I want to check whether you were correct or not, ideally I have to click on the link, and the link should show me the document to which you are referring. So it's really open thing. If you don't have something on website, you don't score. That's the simple, really simple point. Then you finalize and publish, and again, we keep saying that corporate governance is a journey, not a destination. So this scorecard would need to be revised periodically. Ideally, we expect that every year a company will do that, especially if a company will have an improvement plan or action plan how to score higher, and this will be in plan and monitored by the board of directors, so that the company would, revise and hopefully increase the score over the years. So that's all I wanted to share with you, and I think we will open up for questions.